Today's show is brought to you by StreamTech Drift Boats, the world's most versatile drift boat. Find them at www.streamtechboats.com. I kind of feel bad for these people, but at the same time I don't because they're stupid.
Don't see a circle around yourself, just start pissing everywhere.
Oh, I hate the Dutch.
Welcome to our country, and so
She doesn't really look Canadian. She looks almost American. Just insulted all of Canada.
Oh, every time I see something fucked up, you got If I'd known that before, I would have just interspaced every other sentence with something horrible.
Well, I haven't felt my feet since I sat down in the chair.
Can you see your feet, though?
No. I'd rather do anything else on the planet than go tip a cow over.
How about Canada? Is there any stream access issues up in Canada?
nobody cares.
Not very much.
Kids, if you don't understand that joke, ask your parents.
Evan, Derek,
Yeah.
Oh, crap, here it comes.
your flies are open.
Thanks.
Grab hold of your flies. This is a podcast for nymphers, strippers, swingers, and dry fly guys. It's the show that brings you stories, instruction, and conservation from three guys who live it every day. This is The Open Fly.
And we're back. Welcome back, Kirk.
There.
That's your mic.
That's your microphone. You should put it in front of your face.
All right, and we're back from break.
Now, that was a short break, wasn't it? Or was it a long break?
One or the other.
I don't know. I think that was a girthy break. Last week I was wondering what a girthy break would be.
Yeah, it was girthy.
This last one was pretty girthy.
That had some girth and depth.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about fishing lately.
Me too.
But that's all I've been doing is thinking.
I've been thinking a lot about things that other people use to go fishing because that's my job. I don't think I've fished since the last show, which I think we're on a better track now. I think it was 2 weeks ago as opposed to 2 months ago.
Yeah, boy, we're like...
Oh, man, just cranking them out. Just cranking them out.
I woke up this morning from a bad dream. I was on my boat, and I couldn't figure out where my truck was.
Oh, an
It's been that long. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I wonder what that means.
Those anxiety dreams, those are always interesting.
Yeah.
College dreams that
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, but do I have to pay for this session?
Yeah.
I think everybody's had that college dream or a school-based dream where you wake up and you find out you have an exam in a class that you haven't been to all semester. I've had that. I still have that occasionally, and I haven't been in college for 30 years, so I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway.
You should go to fishing school or something. There should be a fishing school.
I can learn nothing. I know all there is.
Well,
Yeah,
that
he
is
could-
true.
he could teach it.
That is true.
But that borderlines on instruction, and we don't want to go there.
No.
we're
But
not
you could do that on your own time.
Well, true. It's hard to ever be on my own time.
Can you separate yourself from the podcast, Kirk?
Not really. I am the podcast. And
Is it you now?
No,
It is.
I am.
You are.
But it is not me. I don't define it. It defines me.
Oh. I'm glad you're dedicated.
Yeah, I am. I'm all in.
I'm as dedicated as my work schedule will allow me to be.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So what happens when you get a job and your responsibilities expand and, you know how that goes.
You have responsibilities to the fish,
I do.
which, hey, we attended a pretty nice meeting last
Did.
week. The Wild Steelheaders United.
2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I think that was right after the last show, so it was
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Did you happen to follow the discussion I had with a gentleman on the Facebook page about?
I don't pay attention to the Facebook page much.
Well, I know, but still, it was there. I got this little notification that so-and-so had remarked on a comment that I made, and basically calling us anti-fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Anti-fish.
anti-fish.
And what was his logic?
That we are advocating, along with what Wild Steelheaders United is advocating, is closing down fishing to everybody and only allowing fly fishing, and we don't care about the fish.
That's seemed to be the opposite of what was discussed.
Exactly. But I think you start getting into these wrestling matches with people that don't have any arms, and it's like, I could pin you pretty quick here, bud, but...
It's like rolling around with a hot dog.
Yeah, but what do you grab onto? Try a half Nelson on a guy with no arms.
Yeah.
Well, I would just... What's the move that you just go for the legs?
A takedown.
Well, then, it would be a takedown.
Yeah, he'd
But don't
probably
you-
headbutt you on the way in.
Wouldn't you feel just a little bit bad, though, about exploiting a guy with no arms? I mean,
No.
oh, cool, I pinned a guy with no arms.
I'd make sure somebody was filming it so I could laugh about it on YouTube later.
I would do it in the name of science.
Science!
Because it'd be like, I don't know, you do your wraparound takedowns and stuff. It'd be like throwing a fish around because it just, like wiggling around.
At this point, having this argument with people that whether they have arms or not, they clearly don't have a functional capacity to think about this issue beyond the end of their
They have no
their
legs to
fishing
stand
pole.
on.
Their fishing pole. There you go. That was a nice.
They decided at one point the way they want the world to work, and they're incapable of thinking outside of their make-believe worldview. Yeah.
I hope we didn't alienate all the armless wrestlers out there.
Well, if you are out there, just go ahead and use your forehead to poke us out a nice little email and tell us all about it. Maybe use your nose because we will judge you for
No, I have to go and
typos and grammar and stuff.
I've just been Facebooking so little lately. I need to jump on there and take a look at that. 'Cause that sounds like a very interesting discussion.
Well, and because I'm not the expert on these things, so I did consult somebody who I do consider to be an expert, and we've had on the show a couple times. Is, hey, how would I respond to this and have it be correct? Because it's still a learning thing for me. And he's like, don't even bother. I know this family of people, and you're basically wrestling with people with no arms.
Yeah.
So I gave it up. But still an interesting conversation because
Yeah.
there's no way that you're working for an advocacy organization that cares about restoring fishing for wild fish and be anti-fish.
Yeah, we're talking about the new Trout Unlimited Wild Steelhead Initiative. For those that want to look up what we're talking about. Yeah, we went to a meeting a couple weeks ago in Seattle, and it was more of a social gathering just to kind of kick it off, more than it was like an official mission statement or anything, but it was a good way to get things going, get people excited about it. And yeah, it's all about restoring fishing runs for fishing, not for just for the sake of restoring them, which, it's a good thing too, but restoring them, doing the habitat restoration, whatever you got to do to bring them back and still be able to have angling opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people will accuse a lot of the steelhead conservation groups for being anti-fishing, which they're not. I mean, they're usually run by anglers, but a lot of their stuff can seem like it's anti-fishing. So,
Well, I think people are willing to give up angling for a period of time to let the
Right.
population reestablish itself.
well, if there's a river that has like 6 fish that come back all winter, I could absolutely see a reason for not fishing to those.
And I think that's exactly where this initiative is really kind of, it's changing people's opinions on how TU is getting involved, because it's advocating for, some systems are going to be okay to have hatcheries on because the chance of wild fish coming back here are
Cowlets.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So
If they were to ever, and the first person to advocate for closing the Cowlets hatchery here in Washington would just lose all credibility.
right.
That'd just be stupid.
You got to have some fish factories.
Yeah.
Leave them there.
The Cowlets is a perfect one.
Yeah.
It's fantastic for it. So.
Yeah. The whole opportunity argument, I get where it's coming from. If you live in Monroe and you don't want to have to drive down to the Cowlets to go fish for meat, sure, that's going to be a problem. But
Yeah. I would say learn how to catch the coho and the skycomish,
Right.
but I wasn't able to catch those this year either because there was like 6 of them.
right.
I hooked one of those.
You did. I hooked like 11 of them and lost pretty much all of them. Just like you lost yours.
Yeah.
It does make me antsy for trout fishing, though.
Yeah.
Because
You actually catch them.
you catch them. So I'm going to give it a shot just to see what happens.
Yeah. Try something new.
I'm going to go tomorrow and see what happens.
There you go. It's been so cold the last 2 weeks that I don't know. I'm good with the cold, but it's made me a little more focused on staying indoors.
Yeah, it's been really cold. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not like 40, like 15, which
Yeah.
is really cold for us.
it is. It's very cold, and it's a dry cold.
It is, which is more tolerable.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, and people, they get off on going out and saying that I went fishing when it was 15 degrees. And, oh, hey, look at us. We're
got a
out
man
fishing. It's
card.
15 degrees. And
You know what I'm doing when it's 15 degrees? Playing video games or something.
about fishing,
Yes.
Well,
Everything's about fishing.
that works too.
You get one of those Atari consoles?
Uh-huh. Yeah. It just came out like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got one of those.
Pong, Tank, Tank Wars or whatever.
Tank.
Yeah. Cutting edge.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we talk about anything else here?
Yeah, because the last time, I think it was on WashingtonFlyFishing.com, when there was a thread going on about the show, some guy commented that he tuned in while he was in the shop, but he listened for 15 minutes and didn't hear anything that interested him or something to that effect.
Hey, we talked about conservation and stuff already.
Yeah.
We're on a roll.
Which
so.
15 minutes did he listen to?
The first.
I don't know.
Oh, the first 15
I think
minutes?
we were rambling, you know.
We ramble.
Well, we're just kind of setting in.
Loosen things up a
Then
little.
there was
Exactly.
somebody else that tuned in, put it on in the fly shop, and turned it off when we made fun of something.
Something like that, yeah.
I was like, that didn't take long.
Yeah. That was Forks.
Yeah, we made fun of Forks. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's
did you
right.
also
That's
hear when
right.
we made fun of our hometowns and every other town that we've ever been to and all the towns that our guests are from?
Hey, did you?
This is kind of what we do.
Did you happen to see?
Nothing
that
is sacred.
A new survey came out, or this new study came out, and it talked about the 50 best places to live in the state of Washington. Do you happen to know where Duval landed?
Usually it's like number 2, but I think we dropped.
Lucky number 13.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, we're having some good luck lately. There's been a lot of burglaries and car prowling events. And
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we've always been right around the number 1, number 2 in previous years, and now we've dropped to the double digits.
Well, number one was either some really, really ritzy place off of North Bellevue, like Medina or Yarrow Point or
Where
something.
Bill Gates lives.
Yeah, I mean, you wipe your ass with $1,000 bills. That's a great place to live, probably.
Sure.
That's not how
I'd
we
like
roll
to
here
see
at
Duval.
Duval
Completely fall off the map so people would quit,
You almost had that last week with the flood.
close, but it was a minor flood. It only closed one road in.
Yeah, it's only been 3 years since our last 100-year flood, I think. 4
Yeah.
years.
First year
So
we
we're
moved.
due for one like next year.
First year we moved out to Duval, we had 200-year floods. That was cool.
Yeah.
Which means that a 100-year flood has no significance.
Speaking of things that our listeners were complaining about, and this is one I was fully aware of, we didn't do our raffles for a while there. And it's because my schedule was more to do it like every 4 shows or so, but we're doing one show a month that, spaces them out a little ways, and I didn't really think through to rethink my strategy with that. So I'm going to make up for last time here and give away a whole bunch of crap.
Cool.
Awesome.
Should we do
Yeah.
it now?
Yeah, we should do it now.
Sweet.
Right on.
So, do you guys want to know what we're giving away, or should I just say the winners and just surprise them?
I want to be as surprised.
Just give a general idea of the type of crap they're getting.
Okay.
Is it
All
like-
right.
is
So
it-
I've got 3 different types of crap that I'm giving away.
Okay.
Yeah. So, first one, and this is a good one, is the first jacket that I've ever designed for my job.
No, look at you.
Kirk just saw it, and Kirk's involved in it too because he helped design the logo work.
No, yes.
I had nothing to do with it at all. I feel a bit like I'm left out.
So-
I did see it though.
Well, there you go.
It's really cool. It's a Primaloft insulated jacket, so it's like the synthetic down. Like it's insulated like the standard puffy coat, but it's got some features and stuff to make it a lot more fishing friendly. I think guys are really going to dig it.
Like
it's been really well received so
Built-in
far.
creels and things like that.
Yes.
Cigar snuffing stations,
So, yeah, and I'm giving away 3 of them. So
Wow.
treble
Yeah.
hook sharpeners.
I'll be getting a hold of all the winners.
Pink seafoam and chartreuse colored ones. Those,
Yeah. Yellow with like yellow fringe.
yeah.
So yeah, really, really pretty.
Very nice.
Yeah. So the jacket winners. First one, Chris Patterson.
Nice.
Hey,
Is that Hank
Chris.
Patterson's brother?
I don't know. You could ask him. Second one, Matthew Berge.
How does that last name get spelled?
Berge.
Like it sounds. Berge.
Okay.
I don't know. It's probably Berge.
Bearish.
I actually know who this guy is, and he's French Canadian. So
Oh, get out.
yeah, I don't know. When a Canadian came up in the random drawing, I thought about disqualifying him, but he's been a supporter of the show since we started. So
And this is going to be a Canadian-based show.
We love our Canadian friends.
We do. And we've insulted them, and they keep coming back, right?
Yeah.
Right.
In fact,
That's the way that they are.
I got invited to a New Year's party up in Canada, so
I
I'm gonna
did
go
too,
do that.
yeah.
Do they celebrate the same day for New Year's?
I
as
haven't
us?
checked because Thanksgiving's different.
Their calendar's way
Yeah.
different.
We got
So-
Boxing Day. We don't have that.
And okay,
Train of thought.
hold on a sec. I wrote down the last name, but not the first name. Hold on.
Jeez.
Smith. Yeah, way to go.
Well,
you won.
hey, how about that?
You rearranged the chart in the room too here, Evan.
Which shirt did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Wild
moved-
Reverence
You
poster
moved the
used to
Wild
be over
Reverence
there.
poster.
You know, it's been like that for about 8 months.
Well, but
No.
we've only been here twice in the last 8 months.
No. I still have a jar of moonshine on the shelf behind me. That hasn't changed. That's nice.
Yeah, well.
Okay, well, it's going to take me too long to look this up, but last name Senning. I'm going to have to look that up after the show. I'm going to email these guys anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Our production intern, let's fire her.
Yeah, seriously. Next one is going to be a Heritage rod from Allen Fly Fishing, size of your choice. Winner of that is Bradley Wigginton.
Nice.
Anybody know Bradley?
Nope.
But
All right.
he's got a brand new Allen rod.
He does.
Any size he wants.
He's probably a tarpon fisherman down in the Keys.
Yeah.
I hope he chooses a one weight.
And for a free T-shirt, the actual T-shirt itself is a surprise. Winner is Patrick Ruist.
Very nice.
Very cool.
Ruist.
Wow, that's some really good crap you're giving.
Bountiful
Yeah.
day.
So I figured I would make up for lost time, and it's the drawings are always whoever our current donors are. We give them entry into the drawing. So whether you're currently donating every month or not, I pretty much put everybody that's donated between July and now into the drawing, just to be fair.
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
Next month, we're giving away a salmon fly.
A Stream Tech salmon fly?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice. The one that's sitting in Derek's driveway, or the one that's sitting in your driveway?
Either one. Maybe both.
Maybe Link will make a custom
That'd be
the open
sweet.
fly.
That'd be sweet to give away
logo.
a nice boat like that on the show.
that would be kind of cool. Let's sell raffle tickets. They're, I don't know, $10,000 a piece.
Yeah, we
Perfect.
could raise some money for the Wild Steelhead Initiative.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so chances are, if you're listening to this now and you won, I've already emailed you, but otherwise, get a hold of me. We'll get your sizes.
How do
I'll
they
figure
get
it
a hold of you?
In the phone book.
Okay.
Or an email address. Or
Yeah. So just grab your phone book and look me up.
I guarantee you there's a number 5 person out there going, and the 5th drawing is for,
That was 5.
was it 5?
Yeah, 3 jackets, 1 rod, 1 shirt.
My math skills sometimes are a little slower in the morning.
And see, anybody else would have done like 3 of the cheap one and 1 of the good ones. I went the opposite. I did 1 cheap thing and like 3 of the good ones.
You, sir, are a shining star, a beacon on the hill
It's kind of
for those to look at.
how we roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, Evan.
Just
Thank you.
letting everybody know that we appreciate them and their support
Haters gonna hate.
and stuff and things.
Especially
and
our Canadian friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our listener feedback segment. Without any,
Did we have any listener feedback?
it was all based on that. Like, where's my drawing? There's supposed to be a monthly drawing. Like, I'm getting to it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can do more than one show every 2 months.
Maybe.
I think so. Well, last year we were able to do a bunch through the winter
Yeah.
because it's easier to get guides on the show.
It's true.
True, it is.
During the summer, how many shows? I think we had to cancel more than we ended up recording. I mean, of course, the listeners don't know because we don't really announce shows until we do them, but there's a lot of shows like the morning of or the night before. Guides like, okay, I got booked, schedule changed, I got to go.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to pick up anything last minute. So, yeah, that's a lot easier to do in the wintertime.
You know, it's hard to have an engaging show when your guest isn't on the other end of the line. We
I don't know.
could do some. Let's do some impersonations and
Yeah, we
just
could
fake
do that.
fake our guests.
We could do that.
Yeah, that's a really
Although,
good
I mean, I don't know.
I think we're rambling.
It might be morning.
I think it's time to.
Take a break.
Yeah.
Well,
that
we've
was
got-
17 minutes of nothing right
Well, and we do have some Canadian friends on the line that we're waiting to talk to today.
there. Oh,
And it's a little bit of a change in format as well. I think we have found that a change to a conservation guest and a guide on the show at the same time,
or just one or the other. Just,
or just
one
one
segment.
or the other, just kind of flows into one segment. So
Instead
we
of
can-
forcing a segment of just a guide and forcing a segment of just a conservation thing.
Yeah.
We do one segment. It can be a combo of both stories, just whatever that guest
Right.
One
can
or
deliver.
the other or both. And a shorter show because we have a lot of people that have a challenged attention span out there.
that's true.
You know.
So we're going to be talking with Shoreline Risers Guiding out
So
of
what's- Yeah.
Alberta,
Ooh. That's like
Canada.
Canada.
Canada's Midwest.
Canada's the Midwest of Canada.
Flyover country.
Oh. I don't fly over Canada that much, so I don't.
No, I don't think many people fly over
Well,
Canada.
yeah, that's restricted airspace.
Oh, that's true. I don't have a passport. Well, I do have a passport, but Do you need one to get into Canada? You do, don't you?
You do.
Yeah, you
It's
do.
an entirely different country.
You can have the enhanced driver's license,
I do have
Might be
an
the
enhanced
Washington.
driver's license.
or
yeah.
hide in the undercarriage of your vehicle.
I was within spitting distance of Canada just right before Thanksgiving up there hunting, and I was close.
Ah.
I could smell Canada. It was that
Really?
close. Oh, yeah.
Smells like poutine and venison.
You took some nice pictures, but did you have a shot at any animals?
I had shots at animals I had a license for, but it was so fast and
But he was out there to go poaching.
so fast and fleeting that I was amazed to see what I saw, and I took my gun for a nice walk in the woods.
Yeah, well,
what are you going to do about that?
It's good to get him out for a little exercise
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah, and the hunting equivalent of using beads, I did do. I have to admit to that.
But using a rifle?
No, an electronic Fox Pro collar. Oh my god, it was so freaking dirty.
I don't know what that is.
So dirty. It's essentially just like this computer equipment you have here in front of you, but it had a big megaphone and then a remote control that gave you like 100 different variations of animals you wanted to imitate the call of.
A wounded sheep?
Wounded sheep, fighting squirrels, remorse elk. It's just like
What does a remorseful elk sound like? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
mewing squirrels. I mean, the whole thing. So we just set this thing up and just let it go, and it's like, it felt like I was fishing with beads or a center pin rod.
Does it have a
Which there's absolutely nothing wrong with.
Does it have a duck quack?
It did have a duck quack. You could use it for anything you wanted to do. It was crazy.
I like a duck quack.
I mean, the first 3 minutes I had this thing set up, I could not stop laughing. It was just like, oh my god, this is so dirty.
Nice.
It felt dirty.
You guys want to go on break?
Yeah.
All right.
No, but I think we
Yeah,
owe
let's call it
it to our
Canadian.
listeners to go on a break.
Yeah, they're probably sitting in their seat, having to go use the restroom, and
Yeah.
just waiting with bated breath for us to put on the commercials
3, 2, 1.
and out.
This is Derek, and on behalf of Stream Tech Boats, I want to talk to you about 3 factors that I consider really important when you're choosing a drift boat, and that's safety, fun, and performance. These are the safest drift boats around to float out of. They're fun to row, and from a performance standpoint, if you're a professional on the water, all 3 of these factors are important. So let's take a second to hear from the man who designed the boat himself.
I tried pretty much everything, that just none of them were really doing what I wanted. So we set out to design a boat. I'd call it the one boat that would maneuver like the hard boats, that would go in the really rough places, that would float high, that would have all the amenities that come on a hard boat with anchor systems and good leaning. A very nice flat floor that you can inflate hard, that you can stand on. No bolts, no nuts, no pins, no clips, nothing to put it together. For the reasons that it's so good for fishing, it got this rocker, and so it pivots quickly, and it slides out on the foam pile when you come off big drops. That rocker just climbs right out on the foam pile. A total game changer.
So there you have it. My recommendation, Link's words. Look for us at www.streamtechboats.com. Call Link directly. He'll answer that phone, and he'll get you on your way towards the best drift boat on the market.
Now back to the open fly.
And 1, 2, 5, and we're back.
Did that flawlessly.
That
Yep.
was perfect.
Yeah, so we had a break. I poured myself some more coffee, dumped some additive, and now it smells like gasoline.
Excellent.
It was moonshine, I think.
Who is that chuckling in the background?
It was
It
a.
sounded Canadian.
Sounded
It did sound like a
Yeah, it
Canadian
definitely
chuckle.
is.
Canadian chuckle.
Hey, there's no lumber-sexual maple syrup here, eh?
Well, I'm canceling my New Year's plans.
Yeah.
Going up there now.
I'm wearing plaid today.
I'm not wearing plaid. I do have a beard, but it's
You hoser.
I'm wearing a beard.
Hey,
Nice.
question for you guys: what's a jug of beer cost up there right now? How about two jugs?
2 jugs of beer, about $40.
Yeah, boy, your beer is expensive. I mean,
Dang. I've got a couple of space heaters and some 10-speeds to pawn.
I was surprised.
I'll get you back.
I was in Fernie at the end of September, and I was surprised. The jugs were no bigger than our pitchers, and boy, it's expensive up there. Which didn't keep us from drinking beer. We just paid more for it.
Well, what's a 6-pack down there? Like $6 or something like that?
It depends who you ask.
Yeah, the beer that I drink, more like $12. The beer that Kirk drinks, like $3.
Oh, come on.
Like $3.50.
Oh, come on. That better not be a PBR brand. I hope not.
No. That's PBR is now the preferred brand of lumbersexuals and hipsters. So I've moved on.
He didn't want nothing to do with that.
Well, we may be in that category. Then. Last night I'll tell you, buddy. We may or may not have had a few PBRs last night.
Yeah, Canadian PBR is different than American PBR. I don't know if you realize that or not.
Oh.
It's a little bit different.
Is it?
My studio has beer on tap that I brew, so we roll a little differently here at the studio.
Well, I noticed up in Canada they tell you that they call it Canadian Coors. You don't just order Coors or a Coors Light; it's Canadian Coors.
Right.
Is it not brewed in Golden, Colorado, and is it brewed in the Canadian Rockies, like around Jasper?
I don't know.
That would make sense.
Could be.
That's a $1 million idea right there.
$1 million idea.
Should we tell people who we're talking?
Yeah, Kirk. Why don't you open the
waters,
show? Yeah.
All right, who are we talking to? We haven't even got there yet. So obviously, Canadian alcoholics is as far as we've got.
That could be anybody in Canada.
Yeah.
That could be anybody.
That's probably a good way of putting it, actually. We like to tie flies, talk about hosers, and, generally we like to fish.
And cook poutine.
When we get there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Poutines.
Yeah.
Poutine? No. I'm not really a poutine fan. But whatever.
All right.
Poutine.
So Derek,
Poutine.
all right, Derek. Let's move this on to the interview.
Well, I thought we were have Kirk open the show today because he's been to Canada more recently than I have, so he's more familiar with the.
Yeah, but I wasn't in the Calgary area.
Oh.
I was in British Columbia, and I know that it's a whole different world.
Well, Canadians all look the same. Just go for it. Roll. Let it roll.
Well, I can't read the names from here because your water bottle is blocking the
All right,
board.
I'm sorry.
So on the horn with us today is Andrew Watson and John Horner. A couple good American-sounding names, but they're actually Canadians.
No relation to Tim Horner, apparently.
No, not. But they reside in the Calgary area. Are you guys living in Calgary proper or the outskirts, or where are you in relation to the Calgary?
I live in the outskirts. I live in Cochrane, Alberta,
Okay.
which is about 15 minutes from the border of Calgary, so it's not far. It's good. I live up in Winter Wonderland, about 2 hours north of Calgary.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh,
I make the commute every day in the summer, pretty much, or I'll sleep in my truck in the summer. Typical guide life, fish bum life.
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Are you guiding right now, or is it out of season, or?
Right now it's our downtime. Yeah.
Are you frozen
Down for
solid?
me, yeah. What's that, sir?
Are you frozen solid up there?
Oh well, it's what is it today? Minus 15.
Yeah,
It's
but that's
balmy.
Celsius or Fahrenheit. Come on.
Celsius.
Okay, so minus 15
It's
sounds a
balmy.
lot more impressive than it really is.
To us Americans, no, that's still pretty damn cold.
Yeah, it is.
That's
No,
good.
I
I'd
always-
still go swing a fly today. If we weren't
screw
talking
that.
here now, I'd be swinging a fly.
You get like to -1 Celsius, and I'm staying indoors playing video games.
I like to know when it gets down to freezing and stays there for a few days up in Calgary, because that's when all the ducks start heading south towards us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's our Canadian symbol is the goose, right?
The Canada
It's
goose.
Pretty sad compared to the eagle for the Americans, but
Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, but the bald eagle is really just a garbage eater. I mean,
They're kind of a glorified seagull.
Yeah.
if anybody that's floated down our rivers enough, them and the seagulls pretty much do the same shit.
You know what I saw? The last time I was on
They sound the same too.
the Snoqualmie just a couple of weeks ago, I saw a couple of pelicans flying overhead.
no, how about that?
Anyways,
Whose national symbol is that?
I don't know.
Should get on that.
Anyways, I thought it was quite unusual to have pelicans, and I've seen them in other places.
I
but
see him in eastern Washington.
Washington.
Pelicans can like swallow whole some gigantic fish.
Right.
You ever seen an eagle do that?
Swallow
Well,
a
I've seen
fish
an
whole?
osprey do it, but not eagles.
Oh,
Anyhow,
Anyway,
carry on.
so tell us about guiding up there. What rivers you're on, what species you're chasing, what do people want to hear about what you're doing up there, and why?
You know what? During this on season from April 1st to October 31st, fishing is open all season, from trout to pike to walleye to anything we can catch on a fly. So my main goal and what I do is, there was a guy on your show. He talked about walking weight, and he didn't like the concept of float trips, And I'm kind of the same way. So what my concept of doing is trying to teach people, reading the water, walking through, and excuse me, and getting to understand the concept of fly fishing, why they're there and what they're eating and how they're doing it, and what times of seasons it's all about. So from trout to pike to walleye to anything that they would like to pick. So if they pick a specific species, I get them on it, and it's good to go.
I don't think we've had anybody on the show even mention the word walleye even once.
I was just kind of looking at Andrew like, walleye? What are those?
You know what?
Do you do walleye trips very often? Because that'd be an interesting discussion.
Walleye on the fly.
Sometimes.
How do you catch those, Andrew?
Hey, man, leeches.
I don't even know how to target those. Myself, I'm more of the brown trout steelhead guy, right?
Steelhead in Alberta?
Yeah.
So,
no. I make the epic 1,500-kilometer drive, and I go steelheading in British Columbia. Yeah.
Better there than in Ontario, where they call them steelhead for some reason.
Well, it's a lake road.
Well, they're a bunch of nymphers over there or something.
That's true. That is true. Bunch of dirty-ass nymphers.
Wow, listen, they're slamming our countrymen. Of course, it could be the Canadian Great Lakes fishermen,
but
too.
since they're Canadian, they're probably okay with center pins, right? Right, guys?
Yeah, center pins. Yeah.
All right.
Just lost it.
Nice.
I stopped nymphing and took up center pinning. Yeah, I took up center pinning over nymphing a while ago.
Yeah, I was listening to your last episode there the other night, and I heard about the whole center pinning and the elbow issue or something like that. Yeah.
They even know my medical history.
So, Andrew, Andrew, you prefer walk and wade trips, but do you do float trips as well?
No, I don't personally, but if it is possible and they want to do it, I'll send them to people like John or a couple contacts within the city. So, I find that walking and wading is more of a learning experience. It's not a fast-paced go.
Right.
So I just love the concept. But if they want it, they can get it, and I can give it to them. So
it's more about the casting than the mending, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
Derek lit up. He's like, huh? That's not a terrible concept.
Walking and wading, I agree, is a really nice way to approach the water. But there's times during high water events, runoff and whatnot, when walk and wading's not really preferable. So
ideal, yeah. And you're definitely right. So, like for instance, if we walk the Bow River in you got high water and stuff. So, like there's tons of streams and there's low rivers all the way around from Kananaskis country to the Crow's Nest Pass, right? So
all the way down to Fernie.
Yeah, and you know what? It's great fishing. Like I don't know, 22, 24-inch cutties and browns and rainbows. It's a great experience. The waters we have around here are amazing.
It's very fishy country. But I mean, you look at it from my view, and it was like I was talking to Andrew last night. I said there's not a lot of positive aspects when it comes to even the conservation side to Alberta. I mean, we're an oil country, right? So, I mean that's our main resource, and it destroys a lot of our land out here. So,
right.
I mean, we gotta take what we get, and what we get is a lot of stocked rivers, right? So,
how's the pollution factor in your waters?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about it. It's very hard to be positive about it. So, they dump wastewater, they dump sewage, and I think maybe that's one of our things on the Bow River is they dump sewage water into there, and that's probably what makes it what it is. So,
well, you got to feed
lots of nutrients.
You got to feed those brown trout.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
maybe we should start doing that here at the Duval Brown Trout Hatchery. Just start dumping it in the Snoqualmie River and watch the fish populations explode.
Hey, let's not do that.
Do you have coal mining on the eastern slopes of the Rockies like they do on the BC side?
in the Fernie area.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have that issue. That's down in Fernie, BC area. Like that's one of my favorite areas to fish, actually. And, you know, they're dealing with mining, and I mean, I can't remember the name of the chemical, but it's
selenium.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and it's leaching into there bad, and I mean, it's hard for the fish to fertilize the eggs, and so on and so forth. And you know, I probably catch, I'd say 1 out of 5 cutthroat out of that river have got issues like gill plate deformities, and you know, they look at it and they brush it off, and they say, oh well, you can still catch, you know, 100 cutthroat in a day on this river, so what's the problem, right?
Yeah, I hope that the mood is kind of changing over there. They're no longer trying to keep that issue under wraps, you know, because the mining companies need to step up and really control their you know, mitigate their pollution factor.
So it seems like in Canada, the mining companies have a little bit more reckless abandon, you know, do whatever than they do here. Is that kind of the case?
I don't know. I think they try to keep it as best as they can, but I mean, like the average person, let's say, driving through Fernie and looking at it, they're not going to notice anything, right? They're going to be, oh, this is pretty clean. This is pretty beautiful country. But then if you spend enough time, you know, floating these rivers and looking at the situations that are going on, you start to see it, right? So, I mean, it's all about the guy being out there and seeing the situation. Everybody else who walks by, they're like, oh, yeah. No, this is beautiful out here.
Yeah, so, on the surface.
What are we worried about? Keep on mining, boys.
Yeah.
Say, do all Canadians have a special place in their heart for chocolate-covered raisins, or is it just the constables around Fernie?
What?
You haven't heard that story I told before?
No.
So the first time I went to Fernie a number of years back, I was staying there at the Park Place Hotel. You boys know that place, right?
Oh, yeah, sure do.
So my drift boat got vandalized, and one of the things that was stolen out of my boat, amongst other things, was a bag of chocolate-covered raisins.
Oh.
So the local constable actually recovered most of the stuff that was stolen out of my boat in the process of investigating this whole thing, and he told me that he had recovered my bag of chocolate-covered raisins.
Wow.
When I went to go retrieve the things from him,
he ate them all.
That was missing from what I got back. So therefore I posed the question: is it a special place in your heart, or is it just him?
Probably just him.
Yeah. Anyways.
Did you take that across the border, or was that a Canadian purchase?
I've taken some things across the Canadian border, yes.
Get charged duty fee.
Some I got charged duty fees on, and some I did not.
Well, let's move back east of the Rockies. Let's talk a little bit about the Bow River. I've heard of it. I've never been there. Is it a world-class destination?
You know what? The Bow River is considered Blue Ribbon. Like it is a great river. Everybody knows the Bow River. Who doesn't know the Bow River?
Right.
That's the general consensus up here anyway. Yeah, that's the consensus. But you know what? It's people like yourselves that, if you come on a trip and you want to go and fish the Bow River, you want it bad, right? And you got people within the city, they don't know what they're sitting on. And it's quite a change from people within the cities and clients from the States and stuff, right? Their whole aspect of fishing the bow is totally different, I find, because we don't know what we're sitting on. And but within these floods, like we've had floods here, like we had that flood last year, and it's totally changed the river, but it's bringing a lot to the river, I think, and it's given everybody a different pull on things, right? So
was that 2 years ago, that huge flood?
Yeah, and it was bad, man. I'll put it this way: I was trained in swiftwater rescue. I used to be a whitewater raft guy back in the day, and it was so bad that I got called from up north to come down and help. And I dragged my raft down, and I was floating through downtown Calgary, picking up people's dogs.
Whoa.
That's pretty much how it was. I mean, it was flowing through the streets of the city, which they've never seen in their entire life.
Did you catch any fish in like parking lots or anything? Just to say you
Oh,
did.
they were there, buddy. There was what was it? Calgary Flames Stadium there. The hockey team. They what did they say? There was probably like 3,000 or 4,000 fish in that stadium when they drained it.
Oh,
and of course, you know what happened. And of course, you know what happened to those fish. But
Yeah. Wow.
Do I know what happened to him? What happened to him?
The nymphers got him.
Oh, okay.
they ended up in the back of a vac truck. Let's put it that way.
Well, that flood was a big event. I mean, we watched it on our news down here, and it's hard to fathom that amount of water and that kind of devastation.
Well, thousands of fish ended up in the Calgary Flames stadium thing there. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. What species of fish?
It boils down to the fact that what does the Boyle River have now? I think it's 3 dams it has on it. And I think what the whole flooding it boils down to is it was the dams that caused it. Because if you look at a river that runs naturally on its own, it generally you're going to get high water, right? In spring, it's going to do its runoff thing. And we had, unfortunately, at that time, we had lots of snow on the ground, lots of rain. Yeah. And they looked at the dam, and they're supposed to control that, right? Like, they're supposed to watch the weather and say, hey, it's raining a lot in the mountains. We should maybe start pouring this dam out a bit so that it's going to be able to handle all the water that's going to come. And they didn't. They failed to do that.
Mismanagement.
Yep. And it was coming. It was literally coming over the top of the dam. I've got pictures of driving out there and looking at the water coming over the dam. And to me, I was kind of saying, yes, I hope this breaks. But at the same time, we wouldn't have a fishery that we have down below if that did break. So.
Do you have a presence of conservation organizations there in where you're guiding at that kind of are helping you with some of these issues you talked about, or is that part of your deal?
My thing now is more about conservation than ever. I'm looking at things and been talking and doing a lot of things with the community and just trying to make people more aware. Like it was like that fellow that was on your last episode was talking about, making the public aware, people that don't fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that to me is a huge deal. Like you got to get out there and make people that aren't in the community of fly fishing know what's going on and why it's important.
Yeah. How important is fly fishing to the community that you're in right now? Is it a big part of your economy there, like it is in places that we live closer to?
When it comes to like being down in the States and stuff, I don't think I wouldn't say it's like it is down there. You go to Montana. What do they say? 4 out of 5 people fly fish in Montana or something like that. It's not like that here. You might get 1 out of 100 people that fly fish, and that's the way it is. Everybody, it's a business community. It's oil field related. Yeah. Everybody in this province is more worried about money and oil field than they are what's going on around them.
How many other guides or drift boats or waders will you typically see on an average day out on the Bow or the other rivers that you guide on?
There's quite a few.
It's getting a little silly.
Okay.
I bet you Fly Fusion and all these. There's a lot of big names within Calgary. In my world, like what I read and what I study and what I watch, the names I'm familiar with is based. There are big names in Calgary, and you know what? They're taking, and it's getting so big. Like there's 7, 8 big guiding companies within Calgary.
Well, including myself and you, I'd say there's probably right now about 15.
There you go.
15 guiding outfits.
How many are on the Yakima? Like double that?
Guide companies or I don't know. They're consolidating pretty fast at about this time. The ones that are there are just getting bigger and bigger, and the ones that aren't are gone or they're.
Yeah, because the Yakima is probably the most guided river I've ever seen.
Probably.
So
in the state of Washington,
up there, you say you got 15 outfitters or guides and whatnot. Are you guys all have a good community together? Do you work cohesively, or are you competing?
We try. Yeah. Like within our fishing community, John goes to Cast and Blast and stuff in BC, and he makes a lot of connections there, and a lot of people are around these areas, and I think the biggest thing is not having a competition. and people don't understand the concept of I catch bigger fish than you. And you know what? It's not about that. I don't think it's not like Fernie. It's not a competition here, and I think a lot of people are getting the wrong concept.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is, make a living. We're not going to get rich, and you know this, and you guys said it 1,000 times. You're not going to get rich at what we do, but we do what we do because we love what we do. And that's the big difference. And I think that if you feel and you love what you do, you're going to accept everything.
My number one thing is I look at a lot of these, like what do we got in Calgary? We got 5 or 6 fly shops, I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guides that guide out of there, it's more about powering clients down the river, getting them through the day, and collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more like, I don't know, you probably like a gourmet meal down the river. Let's be somebody that they're not, right? So let's spend time with you. Like, there's brown trout rising in this pool. Let's actually get you on.
Yeah.
Instead of powering through it and drifting through it and saying, oh, well, there'd be more down the river.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get off the river. Like, our average float here, I'd say, is probably a good 12-hour a day.
Is that 12 hours Canadian? What is the translation for us down here?
That wasn't that funny, you guys.
No, it was. Don't encourage him.
Okay, we'll say 14 hours Canadian.
Okay.
So a lot of urban fisheries and rivers that run through or near a population center during the summer have a nice tube hatch that goes off. Do you guys have such things? Where you can take like some Mardi Gras.
Oh, the bikini hatch.
Yeah, you can see take some Mardi Gras beads and encourage others to remove clothing and things.
We definitely encourage the bikini hatch. Put it that way.
Good,
Yeah.
that's good.
That can backfire you.
Fernie's a good spot for that too, eh? Like they got the bikini hatch there.
A bikini hatch in Canada would be way better than here. Have you seen?
Well, they got
like superior genetics.
They
up
got
there.
jugs up there.
They do. Better than pitchers.
Yeah.
And you guys got buckets of Popeye's chicken, eh? Floating down the river.
Oh God, I've seen some things that
should not be seen.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Canada, though, I think that it would take that whole tube hatch up a notch. You guys got to get up there as far as I guess.
It can be entertaining. I mean, like the Bull River's got a lot of access sites through the city, right? And so you got people. I've had days where they're floating down on their Canadian Tire or their Walmart dinghy, and it can be entertaining.
Canadian Tire.
Some of the time, but it's hard to keep on a client when that's floating by you. I'll just put it that way.
Canadian Tire is like Canadian Walmart. They're like everywhere, and they sell everything, even though they're called Canadian Tire.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go there and buy.
Yeah.
You can buy anything at Canadian Tire.
When you guys are on the boat, is it an urban fishery, or do you guys drive a ways outside town and get into some more rural settings?
Very good point. That is, yeah. We've got, I'd say, probably 23 miles of the river that are run through the city. So, I mean, like, we got the first dam, and it starts just after Cochrane. Or just before Cochrane, sorry, and flows down all the way through the city. And some of the best fishing that we have, believe it or not, is right in the city. And then we can float down another 30 kilometers and end up in a town called Carsland.
It's too much switching between miles and kilometers. My brain can't math anymore.
Clicks, eh? Clicks.
Clicks. Yeah, let's just agree on clicks.
Everybody knows what a click is.
I'd say we've got a good 100 kilometers. So let's say miles. Sorry, we got a good 100 miles of river.
Not all Americans are stupid. Most of us know what kilometers are.
You guys drive on the left.
Yeah,
I drive on the left. Yeah,
it depends if we're texting or not.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Depends on which direction I'm going. Sometimes it's the left.
Hang on, I got to Instagram that photo.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent of? The one thing I noticed about when I fished in Fernie, the times that I've been, is that every time you buy, a daily license, you've also got to pay an additional $20 for an access fee or some sort of ramp fee. What's the story behind that? Because the places I've gone, I haven't seen my money going to do that. Is that how you get access? Yeah.
I think myself personally, it's a great program. What it's done for our rivers, like when I'm an avid steelheader in the fall, so I go out northern BC, and I myself as an Albertan still have to pay $20 a day to fish on that river, plus a $60 steelhead surcharge.
Those surcharges are really high for the salmonids, I've noticed.
Yeah, but okay, so you guys in the States are dealing with hatchery issues, and in BC we're not. We've only got one river.
The Vetter?
You've got fish farms, though, on the BC coast.
That's different.
Yeah, we do. Ugh. Yeah.
So the Canadian equivalent of our Fish and Game Service there, is it, do you see enforcement there a lot? What's the role of your Fish and Game departments there? How do you interact with them at all?
I think they could be doing a lot better job as far as I'm concerned.
We have that in
I get
common.
run into everyone. Yeah. I get run into a fair bit out there because I'm on the river a fair bit on the occasion. And last year I think I got checked, 5 times? 5 times for a license. And, meanwhile, you got a poacher down around the corner peeling pike out of the river or whatever. But they don't seem too concerned about that, they're more concerned about driving around and checking people's licenses, and that's it.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of the only times I've been checked, like in the last 10 years. I was with Derek, I think it was earlier this year. We were pulling the boat in, and there was a wildlife officer there in his truck that stopped us, checked our licenses, like when we were in the truck before we even fished. But just down around the bend, from where we were putting in is a notorious poacher spot, and they weren't going to go down there and look.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, just like maybe half a mile down, there's a bunch of houses down there where they sit in their lawns and throw their power bait in the river and poach trout. Mm-hmm. But they're just kind of sitting in their truck at the boat launch.
Yeah. If they can't drive there, they're not going there.
Yeah, they don't want to work too hard. They're a government employee.
True.
Yeah, exactly. How lazy can you get?
Now, the one we have here in the Snoqualmie does a pretty good job. I like him. Mm-hmm. He's. I mean, it's one guy for like the whole area, and he's all over the place.
Yeah, he always responds to my phone calls and text messages. He's a pretty good game officer, I suppose.
One thing that's a little different about Alberta versus BC is BC, they have these guys, they're called river stewards there or something, and they're on the river fishing, but they are a licensed government employee. And I've had them come up to me and they're like, "Hey, well, can I see your license?" And blah blah blah, and you're like, "Yeah, okay. Who are you? Like, you're in brand new fancy Sims waders and you got your fly rod. Like, who are you to check my license?" Like, but it does. That's the way that they do it in BC, is they get guys out there. I think BC does a little bit better job than Alberta does with it. Mm-hmm. When it comes to that, because they've got those guys out there that are at least, they're on the river all the time, so you may as well hire them and give them a paycheck to be out there.
Yeah, it's like being deputized.
It's the posse.
Yeah, you're a deputy.
Yeah.
Why don't we have fish posses?
I'd like to be deputized.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to hit people over the head with a gaff if they're poaching.
It's like, I heard stories this year, the Thompson River, they took the bait fishing out this year, so conservation guys have been out there a fair bit this year and checking people, which is great. I mean, they're trying to stop guys from using bait, but they're still doing it, and they're out there. The deputies are out there checking people.
Probably out there with their center pins and jars of roe.
So in your off season, where are your dream destinations? If you could pick up in a jet, if we can get you in the Open Fly Podcast corporate jet tomorrow, where would you want to go and fish in your off season?
New Zealand.
New Zealand, huh?
Yeah, see, Andrew's all about going out of country. I love my own backyard, so yeah. We got steelhead here. We got wild steelhead. So if I can go catch steelhead on my off season, that's what I'm doing.
See, the one thing that I like about this podcast is it makes you understand a lot of things about conservation. And what I understand about this concept is I never knew a single thing about the Pebble Mine. Not a single thing.
Okay, we're spreading the word.
So interested. Yeah, and it made me so interested that I want to go. I'm going to to go there next year. I think.
Right on.
That's
Bristol Bay.
That's my plan, right?
Go fish the Nishigack or something.
Get up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting concept, and I'm totally against it. And that's why I like the show. It's
look at us making a difference, guys.
Yeah,
go us.
Well, we appreciate you sucking up like that too.
Yeah,
yeah, no problem, man.
So no, it's interesting. I mean, obviously the Pebble Mine is, it's a U.S. issue because it's in our state, but at the same time, Canada did an awful lot to help us oppose the Pebble Mine this year with the mining tailing breach over there in
Mount Poly.
Mount Poly. I mean,
Yeah, that really,
talk about a nail in the coffin for Pebble. You know,
because there was some relation
Well,
between the companies and stuff too, wasn't there? Like,
the people that designed the pond or whatever.
Yeah.
Canada's learned its lessons, right? They've played the game, and you look at a lot of stuff that's happened here. I mean, it's brutal. Like, I mean, I know you guys have pipelines and stuff down in the States, but
do we? I think we got them in Alaska.
Yeah, you do. And then we Alberta is a train wreck full of pipelines, and they're trying to push that stuff into BC right now, and I don't think it's going to go. There's too many people opposed to it.
They tried to run a pipeline from Alberta down to the Gulf of Mexico through the states, and I think that was just voted down, thankfully.
Well, yeah, you guys got a wonderful president that's making sure that doesn't happen. So
Yeah. Harper, how's Harper doing?
Harper Dern, he's a Putin fan. Putin fan.
yeah, he can go. We're sick of him.
Yeah, where he seems like a total piece of work.
Oh yeah, he is a piece of work. I'll tell you that. You know, we look at this pipeline stuff. This is my main conservation thing in Canada right now. Is this pipeline talk that they want to put a pipeline from Edmonton to the West Coast, which is just an impossible feat in the first place. You if you've seen the terrain, if you've ever driven through there, you're like, how are they going to do this? And they want to make that happen. Well, you know, if it goes, it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's when it's going to fail.
Yeah, and
right?
that's some pretty delicate country. It's headwater country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've also got tankers that have got to drive through some of the harshest water in the world. What was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea.
I agree.
It's just a plain old bad idea.
Did you guys have a lot of wind farms up there as an alternative energy source?
Yeah, Pincher Creek and stuff.
Southern Alberta,
we have a lot of wind farms.
Yeah.
And they're putting, I would say, probably 2 windmills up every day in Southern Alberta.
It's like Washington.
Yeah. It's if you drive through the Crow's Nest Pass and you drive through Pincher Creek and go through Lethbridge and stuff, it's all windmills. It's all you see.
Which is just on the other side of Fernie, boys.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. Left of Fernie or right of Fernie?
Be going
you guys
to
are
the right.
You guys are driving north, right? So I guess it would be,
Right.
You're right of Fernie.
Yeah. Now, we started seeing a lot of wind farms going in here within the last 10 years. And the criticism of those is that we have a lot of hydropower in the state of Washington. You know, the Columbia River generates an awful lot of electricity. And
Right.
and it's generating most of its electricity during the spring when there's a lot of water volume flowing through the turbines, and that's when our wind tends to blow the most. So critics say the wind farms are a waste at this point because we can't store the extra energy in the grid, so we have redundant sources of power generation. So
Where are you getting at with this, Kirk?
I don't know. We're just finding
Just filling.
filler
Just
material.
filling. Yeah, it's just filler.
Yeah.
Important facts.
Well, basically, I mean, obviously, alternative sources of energy are great, but we need to find a way to store that energy. The grid has to be capable of storing a heck of a lot more than it can.
Yeah, but who's going to get rich off that?
I was just reading something the other day that, like, natural energy, like our energies aside from oil, are producing more jobs than oil is right now. And I don't know where I read that. I was on Facebook or something the other day.
Probably not one of the major news
I think-
channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it was on CNN.
Oh, no shit.
The Canadian News
Solar
Network.
power.
Yeah, Canadian News Network.
Solar power is something that I'm very interested in right now. I'm looking at,
I like solar power.
how it produces.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like 20 years ago where you could barely power a trailer. The technology has come along.
And you've seen the whole solar roadways project?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool stuff.
I'm for that.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily trust it to go in like for a highway yet, but turning parking lots and stuff into that kind of stuff would be awesome.
Parking lots, you know, warm weather areas like California and stuff, yeah, okay, I can see that. But, I mean, in the winter countries, not so much.
We need to burn things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, getting back to fishing, what's the typical level of experience that you get from when a person shows up to take a guided trip with you on a day?
I'll let Andrew go.
Yeah, I'd say let's go average.
Average.
So they can cast, they can fish, but they don't know a lot about reading the water here. So what you stumped me here, boys. You stumped
Sorry,
me.
let's change the subject, Kirk.
Okay. Yeah.
I can boil in on this a little bit. I would say, like Andrew says, you get a lot of average people. I mean, they fish the bow a little bit, or rivers around the area, and they know how to cast. They need a little bit of tuning. But, I mean, you're fishing out of a drift boat 90% of the time with myself, so it's pretty easy to get a person to throw a cast off the backside and throw it forward, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and then you get the guys that come from the States to come up, and they fish in Montana, and they know what they're doing, right?
Or they think they do.
Spend the money to do it. Yeah. They know what they're doing in Montana. They don't know what they're doing here.
And a lot of them probably let you know over and over again that they know what they're doing.
Yes, sir. They sure do. And you gotta okay.
Yep, no problem. Don't mind me. I'm just the guy that rows this every day.
What about
when you're ready to catch fish, sir? Just let me know.
No, yeah.
See, me and John have been having this little argument here, nymphing compared to dry fly.
Oh, let's have the conversation.
I'm a nymph guy all the way, right? I love nymphing, man. Nymphing's my thing. So it's the number one tactic on our river here is nymphing for sure, and I'll give them that. But. Myself, I fish the river long enough now that I like searching out the risers, and that's what I do. I go looking for brown trout and spend a lot of time dry fly fishing.
You do any spink?
Or now the new thing is swinging a switch rod, swinging flies like you would for steelhead for trout on the Bow River.
I was just going to ask if you do any two-handed casting.
It's like you're on a mind meld or something.
Oh. Sir, that is my key thing these days is two-handed casting.
Yeah.
So, feet on the ground, do you have any invasive species issues that you're dealing with there, and how are you reacting to them?
Gas companies.
We unfortunately we do, because every fish that's in the Bow River below the dam is an invasive species,
including the browns and rainbows.
Including the browns, yeah. But we don't look at them like that.
Those are introduced species.
Yes, exactly. But we have Persian carp farm that was near the river that when it flooded last year, they got shoved into the river. What else we got? We got.
Why the hell was there a Persian carp farm? What do they do with those things?
Kardashian.
You when you got an answer for that, let us know.
Do they sell them to nurseries to put into ponds
for fertilizer?
Well, you got to remember, Canada is the number one country that allows people that love Persian carp into our country. So.
That's quite a statistic.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So, do you have felt boot restrictions? Do you have Didymo? Do you have the New Zealand mud snails?
That's a good subject.
Yeah.
The rock snot. We had issues for that for I'd say probably the 5-6 years now we've had that, and then it flooded, and I think the flood washed a lot of it downstream. Like this year, we didn't see a whole lot of it like we normally would, which is kind of interesting. Like I've heard that it grows on the bottom of rocks and it stays there even if it floods. And from what I've seen this year, it was pretty much completely gone. But normally on the Bow River, you'd fish and you'd be running a nymph rig and you'd be cleaning your hooks off every 20 minutes or so.
Where does the Bow flow into? South.
Where does it flow into?
Yeah, because it must enter the States somewhere.
It goes down into the States, as far as I know. I've never been that direction.
So thanks for all your rock snot. But
it just kind of disappears.
Hey, no, the rock snot came from you guys, not us.
Oh, sure.
Oh, bland.
It probably ends up like in the Missouri or something. That's really the only.
Those dirty guys with their felt sole boots,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to end up in the Missouri one way or another because there's not really any other major watersheds that drain from that area.
Yeah, the Missouri can have it.
Yeah.
That's an industrialized waterway anyway. Send us all your rocks.
It seemed like August was always the peak time for it. August, September, brutal bad.
and that's why I'll go to dry fly fishing, because I just do not like cleaning that crap off my hooks. It becomes a pain.
Yeah.
But like I say, this year we didn't see a lot of it. I think that that's where floods can be a good thing, right? They can clean out the river and build new hiding spots for the fish and new ledges and new shelves.
Yeah, it takes a while to get to know the river again after a big event like that.
Yeah, but I think it's a better river after the flood.
And I kind of agree, yeah. There's, if you went down to Policeman Flats, it's probably about 100 feet from where it used to be inland. So the river now flows about 100 feet from where it
flows right through the parking lot.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. So
cool.
From when I started fishing at about 7 years old. My mom taught me how to fish, right? And at this point, everything was totally different. The runs were different. Everything changed. Even the 2005 flood.
Yeah,
right?
we had a small one.
Yeah, that even changed it even. So it's and it's great because if you run the same river every day, you know where every single hole is, and then stuff like this happens. I find it kind of exciting because you need to learn and you need to figure out where everything has gone and read the river again.
A lot of guides on the river said it really tested their skills.
Yeah.
Like if they know how to fish the river, and they have for 10, 15 years, and then all of a sudden an abrupt change happened and a lot of guides were lost, and a lot of them, they did good.
Yeah, pushing forward. Yeah. And I think that's what makes a great guide is something so traumatic like that. Well, let's say traumatic. I guess that's an overpowered word, but it gives you competition within yourself, right? And it makes a good guide a good guide. If you can catch fish, even though it over changes, you're happy, man. You're good to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes good guides good guides.
I believe in complacency, period. Personally, I don't like to change or improve myself. Status quo is good.
Yeah.
Well, should we wrap this up? I think we've gotten all we need out of them.
We haven't talked about how to find you and how to book you and where to get more information about your guide services and how to get hold of you guys.
So I'm going to give a shout out to myself. I'm a pretty avid fly tyer, and I'm getting to be, I'd say, pretty well known. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and it's Rise to the Fly is what I run my name under, and Rise to the Fly. So it's RISE number 2, then to the fly. So yeah,
cool. That's clever.
And then I also am a big time fan of a certain rod company that we have up here, and their name is Pureway Fly Rods.
Yeah, they put on that Cast and Blast.
Yeah. So Jeff is a good friend of mine, and he hooks me up with a lot of good gear and some incredible fly rods, and everybody needs to try one. I'll tell you, they're produced right here in Calgary, and they're a good rod, and you're going to get something for your money that you're not going to get from any other major rod company.
Hey, I work for one of those companies.
Hey, yeah, that's right too. Yeah.
Do you have a website?
You know what? I talked to Derek about this. My website will be finished in January.
Okay.
So it's going to be slrflyfishing.com. It'll be up and running in January. Until then, my Facebook account is Shoreline Risers Guiding.
Okay.
And I'm also on Twitter at Shoreline. Hold on a second.
He's got to find.
I got so many accounts. It's crazy.
You need a social media manager.
SLR Guiding, right? So it's pretty plain and simple, easy to find, and you know what? I get a lot of feedback from a lot of things, and I'm trying to pump you out, guys, as much as possible, and it's an exciting way. Facebook is probably my biggest thing. I've met a lot of people and a lot of contacts from Facebook.
I think Instagram for me
there you go, yeah.
Gets a lot. I do quite a bit of fly sales through Instagram. I mean, I get people on there and they see what I tie, and they're always emailing me, hey, can you tie me some steelhead flies? And that's what I do. So if you guys want some Canadian hoser style
definitely want some
flies,
hoser.
Give me a shout and we'll hook you up. Yeah.
They're not tube flies, they're hose flies. Right?
Yeah, they're hoser flies.
Cheese flies.
Cheese flies.
Craft cheese?
With gravy. Awesome. Well, it's been
this was great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure getting to know you guys over Facebook and on the show.
I've had better.
Well,
Yeah, we can always do better.
For our listeners, this sounds like a great trip to go up and see what they're doing there up on the Bow. It's certainly been a place that's on my radar for a while. I'd like to get over there and travel east and do some fly fishing. So
if you want to walk and wade, or you want to float,
you call Andrew at all times. Yeah,
yeah.
If you want to do a drift. If you want to do a drift, you give me a shout, or one of the many various guiding outfits on the Bow River.
So float with John Horner, walk and wade with Andrew Watson.
You got it.
I want to be in John's boat and low hole Andrew while he's waiting some clients and see what he does.
While I'm walking and waiting with my center pin.
Yeah. We've had this debate. Yeah, this was a PBR concept last night. Yeah.
Nice.
Which came first, the low holer or the floater?
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks a bunch for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Take care, eh?
We'll hopefully talk to you again. You betcha.
Again.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Later, guys.
Cool.
Bye.
Okay, guys. Have a good one, eh?
Bye.
Those guys sounded Canadian.
Definitely Canadian.
Yeah.
Interesting concepts up there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they raise a valid point. The oil industry is huge. The tar sands of Alberta and whatnot, that's their economy.
I was just beginning to think this whole automobile thing wasn't going to catch on.
Yeah. Remember a few years ago, they wanted to start transporting some of the massively oversized components that were headed up to the tar sands. Mm-hmm. They wanted to truck them over, was that Lolo Pass?
Highway 12 through past the Locksaw, plus the Clearwater, the Selway. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's a gnarly pass.
Yeah, they shut it down.
In a car, it's a gnarly pass.
Yeah.
What was that group? It was something to haul. Anyway, opposition group. They shut them down, and those oil companies had to incur a lot more expense to go the long way around.
Well, the environmental issues that are coming up from this tar sand mining, if you can see the pictures of it if you search for it, they essentially are turning landscapes into giant bathtubs of
tar,
of just waste. Yeah. Of waste. So it's.
But hey, like 3 guys are getting rich off of it, so more power to them.
Well, if you're one of those 3 guys, that's great, but.
Yeah, well, that's the way.
Are you saying you don't support the economy, Derek?
I'm anti-economy.
All right.
Just like I'm anti-fish.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's hard to strike a balance, because greed.
Let's talk politics.
We don't ever talk about politics.
No. It's probably best we don't. Well, it's time for a change. In Canada and the States, damn it.
Mm-hmm. System's broken. It's a call to action. Fix it. That's about all the idea that I have.
I would like to be deputized, though.
Yeah,
that would be
sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't let Canadian police officers carry guns, though, I don't think, eh?
They don't need to.
No. I want to be deputized down here.
Oh, down here?
Yeah.
Well, that's easy.
Frontier justice.
Frontier justice. Yeah. I mean, just invite somebody into your house and you'll be instantly deputized.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, these guys, spoke to some of the issues and happenings in Fernie, and hopefully our next show or shortly thereafter is going to be with guys from Fernie. So if we can just find a time, maybe in January, to get on.
Yeah, it's probably going to be January because I'll be in the Great Republic of Texas for pretty much the last part of the month.
That will be an interesting show because you've got several guide companies there that, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And if it gets out, I mean, it is out. I mean, if we start talking about this issue of the selenium in the water, and firsthand, I've seen the impact of that with fish with missing gill plates, and it's a big issue.
Well, and when I was there in September, so there was 4 of us, and we floated all day long, good long stretch of water. I don't know how many kilometers it was, but it was several clicks, and we didn't see one fish that day that had any sign of selenium poisoning. That doesn't mean it obviously isn't there, but we didn't see it, and we caught a lot of fish.
Yeah.
So
you could eat the fish and find out.
Yeah, I think not.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and I don't know how much it's of a difference of if it's affecting just the cutthroat that are there, or if it's affecting the bull char.
I think it's got to affect it all. I mean, it's the big thing.
Persian carp.
Persian carp. The eggs. Well, it's just nasty issues.
It is interesting.
It is.
So
yeah.
Well, okay.
That was a nice, kind of nice little mellow show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were chilled out. They only said sorry like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They toned down the Canadian accent a little bit to make it easier for our
hope everybody
American.
can-
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, it helps the language barrier.
I hope people could understand what they were saying.
Yeah. And there's no closed captioning on the Open Fly podcast.
Yet. We'll work on that technology.
You know, and I can talk about this because you know he's not going to listen to the show. I once had a deaf guy message me. He's like, "Where can I watch your show?" And I was like, "You can't watch it. You can listen to it. It's on the website." He was like, "Well, I'm deaf, so that doesn't work."
How'd you have
I don't
that
know what-
conversation?
We're going to start getting ADA compliant
Because
complaints.
deaf people can use email.
Oh, wait.
I was like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Welcome to the Open Fly podcast.
We're gonna put a cam on Kirk's mouth.
Another one?
Yeah,
Mouth cam.
and just put it up on YouTube for our deaf fans.
I do have a.
Sorry, that's pretty insensitive, but I thought that was pretty. I mean, how do you respond to an email
I
like
think you
that?
just have to be blunt and to the point. It's like,
feel like, dude.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So now we've.
it's like telling a
offended-
painter that that you're blind and you want a different way to experience their art. I don't.
So we offended armless wrestlers and deaf people and Canadians.
Yeah, the nice thing about the deaf people is though they're never gonna know.
Potentially the Persians too.
Persians. Yeah.
We don't want. Gosh, we could have Kanye West on our ass here pretty soon. Who knows?
Oh God.
Well, excellent.
Anybody else? We need to get a checklist of people to offend every show. Make sure that we get them all.
We have a random offensive term generator we haven't used for a while. We could probably.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's right over there. I mean,
Well,
it's
how many
reach.
countries is this show listened to in?
I haven't looked at the map in a while.
That would be interesting.
I mean,
We should
we're pretty worldwide.
I think what we should do is we should choose a region or a country for each show and try our best to insult them.
What are you gonna do if we have a Dutch listener?
What do you need to say about the Dutch?
If we haven't already just totally offended them.
Well, they get offended at the beginning of every show because our little
Yeah, the little snippet there.
I might have to make a new snippet thing at the beginning to kick off the new year.
Here we go.
Might have to recycle a bunch of the quotes.
It is nice to hear from those guys that they are listening to what we are doing and they're appreciating what we're doing. That's kind of nice. That's good feedback.
Yeah, well, they don't have a whole lot of good radio up there in Canada, so they just take what they can get.
It blows me away to think that they had never heard of Pebble prior to this. But then again, it's not necessarily an international issue. So cool that we could share Pebble with the Canadian listeners. So
That means our show is actually making a difference.
we're ambassadors.
Can we put it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
That should
and getting rich while doing it.
that should make
Right,
the
guys?
sponsors roll in. That should get the sponsors rolling and knocking on the doors. Hello, it's the sponsors.
Now, we had a potential sponsor or two want to come on in the last month or two, and it's like, we're just not doing enough shows for me to feel good about taking your money right now. So if you're wanting to message me about that, just wait until we're doing it regularly so I can feel good about taking your money.
Well, you're not a very good capitalist, Evan.
No. We'll just wait until we're,
Take the money first and then do something with it.
when they have something to pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Was that your moon juice?
Yeah, it was my moon juice.
Nice.
Well, we should probably go. I got some work to do, and
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I should probably go do some stuff. I know there's some things to do.
yeah,
Things and stuff.
Things and stuff.
things and stuff and
All
whatnot.
right, well,
Okay,
until
well, I'm
next
outta
time.
here.
Yeah, I'm out.
All right. Well, Kirk, do you want to take us away?
I'm out.
At 3, 2,
1. We're out of here.
All right.